Hope everyone is having a great morning so far. It's been a little while since I've made a video, so I wanted to check in and just chat a little bit about something interesting that happened to me with my sleep cycle. I think some people might relate to this. So last week I was house sitting at a friend's place, and as beautiful as the place was, and as much as I enjoyed being there, it did impact my sleep. And it wasn't that the bed wasn't soft, or that anything was uncomfortable. It simply was a different surrounding than my nervous system was used to. And when I went back over my sleep data from my Whoop strap and my Elite HRV CoreSense device, I did notice a few pieces of data that really stood out to me. One was that my sleep efficiency, comparing my last day staying there to the next day staying at my house, so comparing those 2 nights of sleep, I noticed that my sleep efficiency, so basically the time spent in bed, the percentage of that time that's actually sleep as opposed to just lying there awake or lying there total, my sleep efficiency went up slightly when I got back in my own bed. Disturbances were around the same, but it seemed like I was able to fall asleep faster after a disturbance in the middle of the night. And the percentage of REM and slow wave or deep sleep seemed to be fairly similar, but I was really able to sink into those stages and stay there a little bit longer. So my body was making up for nights when I couldn't really get enough of those sleep stages. And lastly, I think the most interesting part was that my resting heart rate was much lower. I think it dropped about 5 beats per minute the second night sleeping in my own bed. And my heart rate variability, which is that measurement of our parasympathetic nervous system, which we do want to go up during sleep, that number shot up about 30 milliseconds, which is a pretty big value. And so you want that value to go up and you want resting heart rate to go down. So those two numbers, probably more than any other metrics in the sleep data, changed for the better when I was back in my own bed. And I just bring this up because I thought it was an interesting thing to point out. Not that we shouldn't travel and we shouldn't house sit and change up our routine, but we are creatures of habit and we need variety, but we also need some consistency. So if you are going to be traveling or staying somewhere else, even if it feels like it's not a big stress, it can be, even if you don't perceive it that way. So if you are going to be in a new environment, you might want to consider things like really blocking out light, covering your face, maybe using some earplugs. And in particular, we already know how light really affects our sleep and wakefulness, and we know that light interferes with melatonin production. But as far as the auditory cues, that's another thing that I think is contributing to the lack of deep sleep when we're in a new environment. Our auditory cortex in our temporal lobe is constantly monitoring our environment for new data. And from a survival standpoint, this makes a lot of sense. We want to be always scanning for threats. And even though we may not need to do that quite as much in this era, although I think it's still a good thing to maintain, that can be draining because that part of our brain is pretty much constantly on. And that's a good thing, but it's almost like RAM in a computer. It's just taking up a lot of bandwidth all the time. So that is one reason why when you're in a new environment, that part of your brain is most likely upregulated because it's a new pattern and a new set of sounds that it can't simply dismiss. So that is another consideration I wanted to bring up. Really keep track of how your senses are affected, sight, sound, even smell, when you are in a new place, because it does affect our sleep hygiene. So that is the fun topic for today. Definitely message me if you have questions. I believe there is still a sale going on for the Elite HRV CoreSense device, which is the main device that I use to monitor my own heart rate variability. And anyone who does get a monitor during their Labor Day sale, I will offer a discounted initial coaching session to help you get set up with that and learn how to start interpreting your own data. Hope you guys have a great day.